Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, let's get rolling on this Saturday morning edition of the College Football Roundtable on Sidelines. Rob Browne broadcasting to you from the Red River Ford Toyota Studios in Wynne, Arkansas. Austin Futrell's out on the trading floor. He is the back there, runs the service department. They are open for business, 7 a.m., 12:30 p.m. every Saturday. Red River Ford Toyota is open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m., 6 p.m. Remember, service department Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12:30. Check them out on the website, redriverfordtoyota.com. They deliver anywhere, and they have been to Charlotte, Jacksonville, Greenville, South Carolina, Dallas, and Nashville just recently, delivering cars, trucks, SUVs. They've also got a huge inventory, over 700 used cars, trucks, and SUVs on the lot. Great power, buying power in the Red River Auto Group. 45 minutes from Memphis. Go on I-40, take a right, get off at the Forest City exit. If you're going west, go north about 15 minutes, and you are there. A lot of college football today, a lot to talk about, and we'll be joined here, and we're looking for Jason Caldwell, inside the Auburn Tigers, to join us, and we'll be talking about the Auburn matchup. Cadillac Williams, interim coach, as the Tigers travel over to Starkville for a 7:30 Eastern kickoff tonight. Davis Wade Stadium, Scott Field in Starkville, Mississippi. As Jack Crystal would say, there's movement in the aisles here in Scott Field as the Bulldogs are going to try to wrap this one in maroon and white. And want to say hello to our proud sponsors, Ayup's on the Square in Canton, Mississippi. But a lot of football today. Where do you want to get started? Florida travels out to Texas A&M. We'll be joined in the next segment by Mark Hamm, checking in. Hopefully, if we can get a signal there in Athens. He's made 3 briskets to try to get over there to the SEC Nation crew. Roman Harper hung out and ate with us at the Tennessee-Alabama game, and his producers. That was a lot of fun trying to get that all set up. And then we'll be joined by Doug Dean, who's in a deer stand in West Alabama, up in a deer stand right now. Hopefully he's going to have some luck, and it ain't luck, it's skill. Top of hour number 2, about quarter after. Buddy Martin, GatorBaitMedia.com down in Gainesville, Florida, joins us. We're here every Monday through Saturday, 2 hours a day, sidelines.live. If you miss it, go to 680thefan.com, the podcast park in Atlanta. Great folks over there. And Kicks 96.3, Alexander City, Lake Martin. Give us a follow on Twitter at sidelines_live. Follow us. We'll be glad to follow you back. We talk about sports. We stay out of the gutter. Sports radio show and podcast. That's what we do. That's who we are. And we have great guests. Jason Caldwell is on right now, inside the Auburn Tigers, Alabama Sports Writer of the Year. Jason, I know you're about to get ready to head over to Starkville. Cadillac Williams, man, interim coach. You can tell, and I said this to some people, anybody that'll listen, first time in a couple of years I've heard a head football coach at Auburn sounds like he loves being at Auburn, and he is as excited as I would be if I was a head coach at Auburn. Man, got to be proud for him. I don't know what to expect. Like you said, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to come with a lot of enthusiasm and be ready to play a full 60. But, who knows more about the Tigers than you? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. You're right. There's more excitement around the program the last 3 or 4 days than there has been the last 3 or 4 months, at least. And so it's really interesting, even starting on Monday with the firing of Brian Harsin, hiring of John Cohen. Those players came out of a meeting, and a few of us were over there, and I just saw kind of the reaction. You would never know that a head coach got fired that day. Those guys came out of the meeting, they were laughing, they were lighthearted. And I sensed a little bounce in their step, and that's not normal when a coach gets fired. And we didn't see everybody, but I saw enough of the guys to realize that, hey, there's a little bit of renewed energy for this team now, the rest of the season. Now, will that matter on the field on Saturday? For about 10 minutes, it might. and then it becomes, can you execute? The lack of depth that was, that's still going. There's still issues for this Auburn team, no matter what the coach is. But we'll see if it impacts them. Maybe with the way they want to run the football and sustain the run and tweak some things a little bit with Will Friend and Ike Hilliard as co-coordinators. I don't expect Will Friend to be the primary play caller. He's done some of that before, but with Joe Bernardi moving on the field and Kendall Simmons moving on the field. Now you got 3 O-line coaches as some of your position coaches. Normally that leads to running the football, and we'll see if that has a renewed energy for Auburn's offense today.
Yeah, and I was at the Arkansas game, and I mean, you could just tell it. Nobody was really mad, and normally, personally, I don't like losing. I hate it, but I hated that. But you could tell something was about to change. Jason, you're a truth broker. The last couple of years, and every time I've asked you, I said about recruiting, you're not going to just say something to make people feel good. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, as many people as you talk to and I talk to, they were like, where did Auburn go? Already I get the sense that, look, this is a 4-game schedule. It's like they're starting from scratch. No matter what happens tonight, they're going out there, and Cadillac said, recruit, recruit, recruit. I mean, hell, he remembers after he had gone up to Knoxville, committed to Tennessee, came back home, the entire Auburn football coaching staff was in his living room a day or two later. I mean, he knows the power of a home visit and building relationships, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And, I think we've already seen a little bit of that just in the short time that kind of he's been running things. And, Stephen Ruzek is the guy that's taken over the recruiting efforts for them off the field and does a good job. And so I think I see, more of a concerted effort to kind of really, I won't say be more active, because they've been really busy in trying to get the football thing back together. But Cadillac has reached out. He's talked to folks, had coaches on the road Thursday night. Rock Bellantoni was in Louisiana Thursday night, 2 days before a road football game. I'm not sure that happens a week ago. It hasn't happened so far this year for them being on the road, but he was on the road on Thursday. So that tells me right there that already Cadillac's going to look, there's things we got to do different. And the next coach will have to do different. And we've talked about it before. So the one thing right now that this staff can do, and Cadillac and these coaches, right now you just try to go, okay, look, just keep Auburn in mind. Don't give up. See what happens. It's going to move forward. You got a new AD and John Cohen. Going to get this thing right. And so that's what you do right now for Cadillac, going, hey, Auburn's still going to be there, and look what it did for me, because that's what we've heard guys say. He said, look, hey, the first thing he did in college, they offered a local linebacker from Tuskegee here, 2024 prospect, the next day. And I talked to him, and he said, look, all he told me was, look, Auburn did this for me. And there was a different coaching staff, and it was different people, but it's still the same place. Yeah. And so that's what Cadillac can sell right now, and Zach Etheridge, and now that Kendall Simmons is on the field, that's what those guys can sell. Yeah. I mean, Kendall out of Ripley, Mississippi, played for the Steelers for a long time. But man, great memories of those guys. And you look, Jason, at the 22 4-star recruits in the state of Alabama this year, 7 5-stars. And everybody asks, where does Auburn stand with those guys? That is, to me, there's 7 of them. You ought to be getting several of them, as well as going into Georgia and Florida. And we all know what's gone on the last couple of years. Now you got to say, okay, let's move forward. It's powerful when Cadillac, Zach Etheridge, and those guys sit down with you, Ike Hilliard, and one-on-one, and they come show up at your house. How many high school football games have you been to this year? I think last night was 16, I think. Yeah. I think somewhere around in there. So, yes, I've been to a little bit more than a dozen high school games already this season. Yeah, and so you're out there seeing the talent level. And now, like you said, going to Louisiana on a Thursday night, 2 days before a game, you got the December signing period coming up. And you're getting asked, I'm getting asked by everybody, like let's say it's December 17th or 18th, I think. How much ground can Auburn make up, knowing they don't have a head coach named
as of this moment?
You can make a ground. You're not going to go to a top 10 class in the country. I don't believe, not that quick. Now you could make a run. It'd be hard to catch up that much because a lot of these kids have already made decisions, but you could make up significant progress. And here's the thing: the most damning thing about right now hasn't been the on the field play for Ryan Harsin and them, even though they were 3-10 in his last 13 games. It's the fact that you mentioned it. There's 22 4- and 5-star prospects in the state of Alabama. Auburn has 3 of the top 35 players committed in this state. If you want to win football games at Auburn, you have to have a presence in your own state. Maybe you don't in Oklahoma, maybe you don't at Nebraska because there's not enough players there anyway. You got to go to other places. In Alabama, if you don't get your local kids, you're not going to win. And it's plain and simple. And if you can't recruit your own state, then it doesn't, and it's not going to work. And now the next coach, you start at home because there's plenty of players right now that you've got a chance to get that can make an impact. And obviously, you're going to have to hit the transfer portal. I mean, everybody knows that. It's going to be needed. Yeah. But there's players in this state that can make an impact that you have to start getting right now to right the ship.
Billy Roberts joins us now from over in Atlanta. And Jason, Billy and I, went to Auburn together. He's from LaGrange, and I was over there on the way back to the game, and on the way back from the game. We stopped off. Billy's dad lives out by West Point Lake, and he's a Florida Gator, but there's 13 members of Billy's family that are Auburn grads. Troup County always has been good to Auburn. Billy, jump in here with Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers because Billy knows recruiting in Georgia. He follows it and loves it.
Yeah, Jason, great to be with you. I've always read you, enjoy your columns a lot. The things that are just shocking to me, in the aftermath of Harsin being gone is, people are coming out and revealing how little attention he was paying to recruiting. There was an article just the other day. I don't remember who wrote it, but they were saying that people weren't being picked up on time at the airport, like on recruiting visits. And they were trying to run around and find Harsin on a day where a guy was taking an official visit and he wanted to meet the head coach and they couldn't find him, just crazy stuff like that. How did that not come out even earlier? I know there were whispers that he wasn't really doing the right thing in regards to recruiting, but it seems like it's negligence. I can't believe he was actually cashing his paycheck knowing that he wasn't paying the right kind of attention to recruiting. It's just nuts.
Yeah. The people that needed to know that make decisions, they already knew that stuff. They knew those things. And, the background of what happened in February had nothing to do with off-field potential, indiscretion, whatever it was, those rumors that came out. It had everything to do with in the building issues with coaches and players that started it. But the folks that know Auburn and know football were scared to death because they knew what was happening in recruiting. We saw it, we talked about it. And the national narrative that's come out, the last few days from a few folks, Reese Davis being one, and some of these others, and Dari Noquel. I heard him on SEC Network the other day about how the things in February impacted this season is a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
Nothing that happened in February has anything to do with this football season.
No.
Matter of fact, what happened in February only helped his probably job in terms of some fans. They probably said, that he had more support after that in February than he did in December.
That's what I was.
And those things that happened in February were after a signing period where they signed 0 players, signed nobody in February. So it had been started. It had been going on. The people that knew what was happening. And a lot of this stuff happened early. They remedied some of it, but even early this season, even this summer, in preseason practices, there were times when, coaches or recruits or trainers came to Auburn, and Harsin didn't talk to them. And, as a head football coach, you're recruiting guys and your assistant coaches. It's important for those guys to build those relationships. But if your head coach isn't recruiting and he isn't sealing the deal, you're not going to recruit. And that's what happened at Auburn.
Well,
Well,
one of the things that Rob and I were alarmed by, he mentioned Georgia recruiting a minute ago. There was a lot of talk that he didn't come or send any of his staff to the Georgia high school coaches banquet over here, back in the spring. None of them showed up at all. And it'd been the first time in like 43 years that nobody from Auburn had attended. Just crazy. Did he think that he was a good enough coach where he didn't need to recruit? Was it just hubris on his part? What was it?
Yeah, I think they felt like, and he felt like, we can recruit, but the most important thing we can do is scheme and work hard and do those things, and it's important. That's always important. But if you don't have the players, that other stuff doesn't matter. And I think he found that out. And here's the thing: I think as it went along, he learned more and more about the importance of recruiting here. But by then it was too late, but he still never got to the level that it needed to be. These past few months, they were much busier and much more active than they've been previously, but the die was, quote unquote, the die was cast.
Yeah.
It was already done.
If you watch the games, and we've sat there, Rob and I watched many games together, in the first half of almost all of these games, they kept it close against everybody, even including Penn State. And then the second half, they didn't make adjustments, and then the lack of depth, just got the best of them. You could just see that they couldn't play a full 60 minutes, and it wasn't conditioning. It was more, we just don't have enough guys, to substitute in.
Billy, hold those thoughts. And Jason, I know you're on a tight schedule. We're going to come back after the break. I want to get your answer on this, and I know you got to get going, but great stuff here. And I'm disappointed. All those national guys, especially Reese. Reese used to work at Channel 3. They ought to know better. They know what goes on. We'll be right back.
Now more than ever, it is so important to shop local and to buy American. For 60 years, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company has been on the historic Collierville Square, and we strive to sell made in the USA products when available. With over 7,000 pairs of Western boots and work boots in stock for men and women, come and see our huge selection of clothing, jeans, and accessories from top brands made in the USA. Please support local business and come shop with us at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. God bless the USA.
Well, baby.
Hey everyone, my name is David Wisdom.
And I'm Shelby McNeil, and we're attorneys with Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short, your local Auburn law firm. Established in 1959 right in the heart of Auburn, Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short has grown in response to our clients' legal needs. We're a full-service law firm focusing on the legal issues our clients face.
We take pride in providing our clients with exceptional legal services, ongoing communication, and skilled representation. If you have any questions about our services, please give us a call or visit our website today.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you. Jason Caldwell, inside the Auburn Tigers, Alabama Sports Writer of the Year. Billy Roberts over in Atlanta. And Jason, before we went to the break, Billy was making a series of great points. And again, the national guys that love to get on there and condemn people, I mean, they ought to know better. If you are not out recruiting, in your sleep, you're not recruiting. In the shower, you're not thinking about, hey, I got recruiting, then you're not going to be successful. And I respect the hell out of Mark Murphy, you, Philip Marshall, Stuart Carter, Stat Tiger, the whole group at Inside the Auburn Tigers. I know Mark 41 years. And I went in there and I remember asking him about the recruiting early on. And he just looked at me. I've never seen Mark look like that. You know how Mark is. And he just said, he was speechless kind of, and for you to say what you said. So pick up on what Billy's comments were. And I just think the national people, Auburn, they love to write the narrative. Well, they're not doing that anymore because they got to go through people like us.
Yeah, no, it's been the biggest issue among all issues, but we're talking about, and trying to outcoach people, do those things. It's all rolled into one, and you look at it, and there's multiple reasons why it wasn't successful, but and the flip side is that this is still a team that's close enough that you start thinking back to games and you go, those are winnable football games. You're up 17-0 on LSU. And that's one. Ole Miss, you get down 17-0 and you cut it to a 4-point game. Like you outplayed them for much of the football game on the road. Even Georgia, Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas was that's a 4-point game at halftime. Georgia, you played them toe to toe the first quarter. You fake a punt and the game's over with. And I don't think this team beats Georgia, but the lack of depth comes from coaching decisions. They haven't built depth on the defensive line. You ran off a lot of players that would have been depth pieces, or let them go one way or the other. I mean, you think about, just J.J. Pegues and Ladarius Tennyson on defense. You think about those guys. Think about Lee Hunter at UCF. And all of a sudden you go 3 different players, 2 extra bodies on the defensive line, interior defensive line, makes a big difference. Romello Height was starting at USC before he got hurt. What would an extra edge rusher have meant for this team? I mean, all those things are impacting and impacted this season for this team. And so, coaching, development, the way things have been done, all of it rolls into one. But, that's the thing. And it's not just recruiting. It's wins and losses. It's on-field decisions. And I think back to last season, you're not going for 2 against Alabama. Fake it going forward on 4th down against South Carolina with Tank Bigsby not on the field with the lead on your own end of the field and flipping momentum. There were multiple occasions where you look at it and go, man, a coaching decision may have cost them an opportunity to win football games. And you combine that with everything else, and it didn't work.
Yeah, and I just got a text from Clarence Beeks in Birmingham, one of our listeners. He said, what I just have heard all of y'all, especially Jason, say about the lack of recruiting and or effort is reason enough to be able to fire Browne Harsin with cause. And I know that may be a long, drawn-out legal battle, but honestly, is that option being put on the table by Auburn's attorneys? Because $15.3 million, people say, well, some big booster is going to pay it. I manage people's money for a living, man. I've been doing it 31 years. I got people that are worth $100 million that will balk at a $50 IRA fee. Okay. So I don't know who's writing that check, but Auburn ought to do something about this. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah. My guess is that combined with everything that's happened, there'll be some discussions had to try to figure out, a way to deal with this. And you're right. I've said it the entire time. I thought it was borderline negligence. It may be hard to prove that, to going, hey, because there was recruiting done and there were other things done. It just wasn't done to the level that was needed. And so I don't know. You're right. There'll be somebody that says, hey, let's make a run at it, see what happens. Others, they might want to avoid, legally what comes into it. But my guess is that somewhere along the line, somebody's going to say, hold on, let's take a deep dive at this and see what we got.
You know what they could do is that $15.3 million, they could get a chunk of it back and use that to give bonuses to hardworking employees in the athletic department who actually do their jobs. That's just a thought. But look, Jason, before you go, couple of things. One other thing. I know you got to go. Coaching search. My phone, like yours and Billy's, lights up like a Christmas tree. Who are 3 or 4 names that you think Auburn will go after? Doesn't mean they're going to come, but you think Auburn will legitimately pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right now it's the fairly obvious group that you have to start with when you start talking about things. You kind of have to start with Lane Kiffin, and it sure feels like he's a guy that's going to have to turn this job down at some point. Yeah. Based on everything. When I think about combination of on-field recruiting, transfer portal, I don't know that anybody's done it better than he has at Ole Miss, and that's what you're going to have a combination of at Auburn pretty quickly. So you got Lane Kiffin there, you got Hugh Freeze there. There's people, and there's going to be people that want to take a run at Deion Sanders. So I'm sure that'll be somebody at least you talk with. Matt Rule's out there, and you have the assistant group of guys like Jeff Grimes and Charles Kelly, and here's the wild card. The wild card is that this is John Cohen and President Roberts' decision, and John Cohen and President Roberts may have guys that they want to talk to that nobody knows about, because that's what happened in the search for the new AD. You know, Chris Roberts had guys in mind and talked to folks, and nobody knew who they were until the end. This coaching search could happen much the same way, and if it does, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a surprise or two that nobody's even mentioned.
Yeah, and I like Dan Lanning at Oregon. I know a lot of people will say, well, anybody could win last year at Georgia as defensive coordinator with that talent, but he's winning at Oregon. Cristobal left him a lot of players. He's got Bo Nix and Kenny Dillingham. He knows the South. He's been on Saban's staff. Dion, he doesn't have any head coaching experience. Do you take that chance? But it looks to me, Jason, like Auburn is putting together a financial package to where they're going to swing for the fence.
They're going to swing for the fence from a salary standpoint, from a potential NIL standpoint. Some of the things they're doing there is going to be very attractive to coaches. You got a brand new building that you're going to get to put your nameplate on the door for the first time. The new coaches, you walk in that building, you're going to be cutting the tape. And that's got to be a pretty exciting thing for a coach as well. So there's a lot of positives right now for Auburn hiring its next football coach. Yeah, Jason, I know you got to get going. Tell people how they can follow you. And as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday to join us. Have a safe trip to Starkville. Yeah, you can check us out. You're right, Auburn 247, Auburn Undercover, AUTigers.com. All those places will get you there, and we'll have full coverage from over there. Myself, Mark Murphy, Nathan King, all be there today and heading out here in just a few minutes. So check us out there, and you can also follow me on Twitter at ITATJason. You're a voice of reason. Anybody can tell Chicago, but we really appreciate it, Jason. Y'all be careful. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All righty. All right, Billy. I just the other night when you and I were in LaGrange on the way back and forth from that Auburn Arkansas game, there's 5 or 6 kids on the Auburn team from Troup County. We talked about kind of the high schools they do in Georgia with the population growth. Troup County, LaGrange High School, and then you've got in Hoganville, you've got Callaway, kind of, that's 45 minutes from Auburn's campus. And Columbus is 35 minutes from Jordan-Hare Stadium. I used to work at Channel 3. I commuted my first couple of months. I was living in Auburn and was going back and forth to Columbus. Last year there was Mikal Williams, 5-star defensive lineman over in Columbus. Auburn wasn't even in his top 5. That would be like, your kid, and when he's 5 years old, then who's your favorite dad in the world? And he lists 3 other people. I mean, if Auburn's not in that mix, they're not recruiting. They're not making the effort. And that was Browne Harsin. And I'm serious. I can't believe that someone could get $15.3 million for not doing their job. I don't work in that kind of world.
I don't either. It just boggles the mind that somebody, even an outsider, different part of the country, has a different philosophy. You still have to have some common sense that, there's a talented guy 30 minutes down the road that, with a little bit of effort, we could probably get, and we're not going to even, go visit the guy or get to know his high school coach. It's just absurd. This is, he said, if you listen to, his introductory news conference, he wanted this challenge. This was a point in his life where he wanted to kind of step up and prove himself on a different stage. It was all talk. He didn't do it. And if you look back at his background, he spent, 22 of the last 25 years in Boise, Idaho, kind of in a bubble, I guess, so he really hasn't been out in the wider world. It's amazing to me that other universities have got him on their list, like Colorado's name's been mentioned there, Arizona State. I mean, what they've seen him not do with the golden opportunity at Auburn, with all the resources in the world and a passionate fan base and the right kind of facilities, money is not an issue. If you want to gas up the plane and go see a kid, Auburn will pay for that. There's no limit to what they would spend on recruiting. And with all of the resources available, all he has to do is just tie his shoelaces and go, and he still couldn't do it. How in the world is his agent going to spin him to the next job? It just defies imagination.
And he'll try to say that Auburn picked on him and didn't give him a chance, which is nonsense. And I'll just say this. The SEC East, SEC West, for the last couple of years has had a hall pass, just to go out. Auburn's been walking around with a sign on their back that says, "Kick me." And so, if you beat Auburn in the last couple of years, especially this year, That's like beating up on a man flat on his back in a body cast in a hospital bed. Those days are coming to an end soon because Auburn has had enough. As Clarence Beeks told me down in Birmingham yesterday, they've awoken a sleeping giant. Auburn is the 12th winningest program in the history of college football. And that SEC short experience, the Auburn experience, it's one of the best they've ever done. It just shows the guys on the roller coaster ride. 2010, wow, that was great. National championship. Then they hit 2012. Wow, 3-9. Worst team in 62 years. The next year, holy cow, the BCS national championship game and kick 6. Holy cow. So you want to hit that button again? They're like,
Well, and it's important to, like you mentioned the national narrative a couple times, and it's a real thing. And, there's people that don't have the facts at their command that are spinning narrative. And again, yesterday I looked this up because I was tired of people saying, Auburn's a revolving door. They're impatient with coaches. Since Pat Dye was hired, which dovetailed with Coach Bryant passing away at Alabama.
Yeah.
Auburn's had 6 coaches. Alabama's had 10. If you want to just look at that snapshot, they have been more impatient than Auburn had. Now they struck gold with Saban, and they've had stability, but they clicked through 3 or 4 coaches up until that point in pretty rapid succession. Heck, they had one Price that didn't even coach a game.
3 months and went to the beach. And
so, every program, even mighty Alabama, goes through periods where they get it wrong, poor hire, whatever they thought was going to work doesn't work. And the right kind of programs that are determined to be successful will recognize that this isn't working, and they'll rip off the Band-Aid, and they'll make a change. And that's what Auburn's doing now. I argue Auburn probably had too much patience. They, absolutely should have, after the bowl game last year, say you're done, and they should have done it then. And, we had a couple of presidents in quick succession that were weak and probably didn't care enough about athletics to, take a strong hand. And our current president, Roberts, no relation to me, but I wish he was. He's a great guy. He's gonna be, a different kind of leader. And he's not going to, the guy that's going to hesitate. He knows at a school like that, that it's important. Academics matter. It is an academic university, and you just brought the dean of engineering in to be the president. So I think that says volumes about, the fact that the priorities are right, even at Auburn, where academics matter. But you're still getting 90,000 people coming down there for a ball game, and that is the front door of any Southern university, is the football program. And do you want cobwebs and leaves all over your front porch, or do you want it to be shiny and positive and successful looking? And that's the decision Auburn has just made.
Yeah. And the Leith was a disaster. Dr. Gooch had been president for 11 years, 06 to 17. He came back as an interim just to help out, and then he became president again. And I just don't think he was really comfortable wanting to do that. And the Leith hire, people say it's cost Auburn about $100 million. You can go see what I'm talking about if you want to look at it. But anyway, let's switch gears. There are a lot of big games today. Florida going out to Texas A&M. We'll talk with Buddy Martin a lot about that in the second hour from GatorBaitMedia.com. Alabama going down to LSU. That game has been that game too, because everybody is focusing on Tennessee and Georgia between the hedges. And we had Bill Hancock, chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, on the show yesterday with Ken Capps, and Frank Duffy was on. We had a great roundtable with Jimmy Hodge and all of us. And you look at it, last week, Georgia was ranked number 1. They beat Florida 42-20. Then Tennessee wins, dominates 44-6 at home against a ranked Kentucky team, for what that's worth. And now the only poll that matters is the CFP rankings. Tennessee is number 1 and Georgia's number 3. Ohio State's in there at number 2, despite playing a really weak schedule. But that's life in the Big Ten. They'll play their game of the year against Michigan. But they are the national media's team, the darling of the national media. And you cannot look on one college football TV set, no matter what the network is, without seeing one or more Ohio State minders, like being in China. You know, you go for a run in Tiananmen Square at the Royal Hotel in Beijing. There's 3 or 4 minders running alongside you, watching every move you make. They've always got to have that Ohio State narrative in there, and they will cry, bend the rules, do whatever they got to do, make sure they get out there. They're undefeated, but I mean, again, what have they done? So, what are your thoughts on Tennessee and Georgia? If Mark Hamm is trying to get through to us from over in Athens, difficult to get a signal, and we're going to come back, Billy. Want to talk about all these games. Liberty travels to Arkansas. That's an interesting game because Hugh Freeze, contract or no contract, his name's being mentioned for all kind of stuff. So there's a lot to talk about. We're going to do more of it on Sidelines after this quick commercial break on Saturday.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the Horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne, Billy Roberts here on this Saturday morning roundtable. Big weekend college football. There are a lot of big games anywhere you look. I know Clemson's traveling up to South Bend to take on Notre Dame, but in the SEC, let's run it down. Kentucky at Missouri. I'm taking Missouri in that one. Florida at Texas A&M. Tennessee at Georgia. Liberty at Arkansas. Alabama at LSU. Auburn at Mississippi State. And South Carolina at Vanderbilt. Again, you saw it South Carolina last week, Billy. They had a 4-game winning streak. They called it the Battle of Como. Columbia, Missouri, Columbia, South Carolina. Missouri dominated that game. They've got a pretty good team. Eli Drinkwitz had multiple close calls earlier in the season. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in that Auburn game.
They certainly did.
That was unbelievable. Then the Georgia game, holy cow, how did you lose that one? You had to work at it. And then the Florida game, they outplayed Florida. Florida, again, you know what? Buddy Martin has forgotten more than we know about Florida. Obviously, him, Franz Beard, Ben Troop. But they outplayed them. They didn't get the win. They got the win. I think they like the taste of victory, and I think they beat Kentucky today. But Clemson, Notre Dame, Clemson's 4th in the college football playoff rankings. Billy, you know, you look around you in Atlanta where the SEC and the ACC come together. You've got an anchor school, in theory, Georgia Tech, a member of the ACC. And by the way, are you hearing any names? Give me a couple of names. I like to ask people in Atlanta, any names being mentioned. Dion, who? Pete Carroll?
No, it's talking about for a coach at Tech.
Georgia Tech.
No, it's been pretty quiet. Who knows what they'll do there. It's a pity because that's another program that if it's packaged the right way in terms of image, they've got people there that care. There is some apathy. They do have a bunch of foreign students that, don't understand anything about football, but this whole city is dominated by Georgia Tech alumni. The whole city of Atlanta is a monument to civil engineering and real estate. There's freeways and buildings everywhere you look. All of those things have been built by Georgia Tech engineers. So they care. And if they had a program that was worth rooting for, they'd do it. The thing that's happened there, they lost their AD, went to Clemson, and he was the right guy. And I guess he got paid more to go to Clemson. That happens. But it starts with a good athletic director. Auburn is learning that right now, and the right guy can get the right coach in and then go get support from the alumni base. If they had somebody that understood how to package Georgia Tech in that environment, particularly on a Thursday night, they've got something there. When they play those ESPN games on Thursday night in downtown with that setting for that stadium, it's electric. Even with a crummy team, it's an electric atmosphere, and that's something they could build on there. And I've got a lot of friends that are Tech alumni that care, and they just need a team to root for. And they could get it together there. They really could. It's not as dire as it appears to be.
Yeah, and there's so many players there in Atlanta, and Georgia Tech, tough academics. All schools are tough academically if you don't go to class. But all right, let's look now around at this Georgia-Tennessee game. If you're Georgia, Kirby Smart, what I'm seeing and hearing him say is we've been disrespected. They pushed us from 1 to 3. Tennessee's getting all the attention, all the love because they've beaten 5 ranked teams. And the narrative on Georgia is, well, they beat Oregon in the first game 49-3 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And since then, who have they really played? A ranked team, a highly ranked opponent. And then you look at Tennessee with, again, 5 wins over ranked teams. They went on the road at Pitt and only scored 3 points in the second half and got the win against last year's ACC champion. I know Kenny Pickett's gone, but still, that was an impressive win. Who do you like in this game and why?
I think Tennessee's going to win this game. I really do. They have got a better resume right now, and Georgia. They've got to have a little bit of a down game. Missouri was certainly one, but you can't play it, with the flame up high week after week after week. Even with all the talent in the world, there's going to be some letdowns, and I think that Tennessee is going to challenge them in a way they haven't had before. The play calling, Heupel's got an innovative offense going on. I really think it's going to be a squeaker, but I think Tennessee's got a chance here.
Stetson Bennett versus Hendon Hooker. They get into a track meet. Who do you like there?
Hooker. I mean, and that guy not only track meet, but he's got an arm. That guy can throw the ball down the field. Holy smokes.
We had Bob Kessling, the voice of the Tennessee Vols, on the show yesterday. And I said, what I see out of Tennessee reminds me a lot of the second half of the 12-year Steve Spurrier run at Florida. When Spurrier first got there in the fourth quarter, they'd still be throwing the ball around, gave up a lot of interceptions. That's how they lost a lot of games the fourth quarter. Then they brought in better running backs, Eric Rhett, Fred Taylor, Graham, a lot of guys. They would just suffocate you in the fourth quarter. Tennessee really likes to run the ball, and when they throw the ball, they make you cover every square inch of the football field.
They do.
And defensive backs, they have no idea. They can't read a whole lot. That's my take. You agree?
I agree. And, when you find a quarterback that can throw on the run, but throw with accuracy on the run, that's impossible to cover. And, we've had that a time or two. Even if you remember Nick Marshall a little bit, he surprised a lot of people with the strength of his arm and accuracy of his arm. Converted defensive back, but he could throw on the run, and that drives defenses crazy. And that's what Hooker can do.
Remember about Nick Marshall. He holds the Georgia high school record for touchdown passes in high school from Pineview, Georgia. Nick got a great arm.
Yeah.
Could have been better for the short and intermediate stuff, but Nick Marshall, probably not the greatest quarterback, but the greatest athlete quarterback maybe ever at Auburn. He could dunk from the baseline. I mean, he was from the top of the foul line. Incredible. And yeah, he was a defensive back at Georgia because he wanted to get on the field, and that's what he's been as a professional football player. All right, Billy, Alabama travels down to Baton Rouge. The last time they lost in Baton Rouge was 2010. From 1969 to 2001, Alabama did not lose in Baton Rouge. Make the case. Frank Duffy, go Tigers, is not with us right now. He's probably listening. But make the case. You're on the clock for why LSU at home at night, if that matters, is going to beat Alabama?
Well, we've heard for a long time the old adage that, defense doesn't slump, defense travels. That's all true, but Alabama's defense is not what it has been in the last couple of years. They lost a lot of talent to the NFL. They got a bunch of young guys. And, LSU, Baton Rouge, that's a challenge for young defenses. They're not gonna know what hit them in an environment like that for a little bit. It'll take a half a game to adjust to that. So I think that, Kelly's a great coach. That was a gutsy hire by LSU to bring him in. He's going to scheme offensively and have a good game plan. So I think LSU has got a chance to win that game.
You look at LSU's improvement since that 11 a.m. massacre when Tennessee came in, and Tennessee did what Georgia hopes they don't do today. Georgia, a better team, I believe, than LSU. They jumped on top of LSU early, and that 11 a.m. crowd, it's always going to favor the visiting team.
That's right.
LSU fans, we're getting there late. You don't know whether to eat breakfast, lunch, brunch. Should you start drinking that early? In their case, yes. And so it's a mess. But I like Alabama in this game because Bryce Young is still the best player in college football. I was at Tennessee, Alabama. That was the best quarterback duel that I've seen probably since 1969 as a little kid on the couch on Briarview at the Sharps house watching Ole Miss, Alabama. Alabama won 33-32. Scott Hunter, Alabama quarterback, against Elijah Archibald Manning from Drew, Mississippi, down on Highway 49. That was that good of a game. But these two teams are both, number 1 and number 6. That's how good it was. I think Bryce Young, if he gets outside the pocket, he's about as dangerous as it gets.
Yes.
And Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's another Georgia Tech transfer from Dalton, Georgia. He's great at catching balls out of the backfield, Billy. And I think Alabama's defense, they haven't been elite with Pete Golding and Charles Kelly out of Ozark, Alabama, who's co-defensive coordinator. I don't think LSU, Jaden Daniels, can go blow for blow with Bryce Young. And Alabama has yet to have a breakout game. I look at them like a stock on a 200-day moving average. They're about to break out, and I think they're going to break out big tonight. If not, then I'm way off on thinking Alabama's a pretty good team.
Well, I think you're right about that. But I'll tell you, if we're paying attention, every once in a while you'll see some innovation in SEC offense that starts to creep in one year and then it becomes full blown the next. And what I've seen this year from a couple of the better SEC offenses is the quarterbacks are completing like 2-yard passes to the running back where normally they would hand off and the running back would run it. But right now they're kind of just putting them out there just a little bit and they're throwing them a 2-yard pass. And then, they're getting away from the blocking a little bit and they're running with a little bit of space. And I've seen that from a couple teams, particularly Alabama's doing that well. Tennessee is doing it too. Georgia, some of the better teams. And I'll bet that that's going to be a full-blown trend next year. But a little bit of that innovation is creeping in right now with some of these better offenses in the SEC.
Yeah, and speaking of better offenses, here it is now, year 3 at Arkansas, Sam Pittman. That offensive line that he's building over there is the great red wall of Arkansas. And they're getting depth. Linemen are attracted to the culture that is Arkansas. But it's year 3 under Kendall Briles. Offenses get stale. They got about a 3-year shelf life. And I don't know if he's going to be a head coach somewhere else or they're going to make a move or whatever. But they got Liberty coming in today. Liberty is going to always be in the headlines because Hugh Freeze is the coach. And Arkansas is a 14-point favorite at home. It's hard to say Arkansas is really good because they beat Auburn last week, because what does beating Auburn last week really mean when Brian Arson burning down the house was the coach? I don't know what you can take away from that. But Arkansas, what's fueling them is, God, how did we lose to Texas A&M? And then KJ Jefferson not being on the field against Mississippi State. Malik Hornsby did a good job in backup. I like Arkansas at home today against Liberty, Billy.
No doubt. Yeah, I think that's a good call. For me, as a guy that's maybe looking at an audition for an Auburn coach, I'd like to see Liberty show me a lot, and make it an interesting game. But I think that, Arkansas will win, just bigger, stronger guys. That's normally the way it is in the SEC.
Yeah.
Just more guys, bigger guys, stronger guys, all of the above, better coaching. But in this case, Freeze himself was a fantastic coach. So it'll be an interesting game.
Well, you look at Arkansas. Dudley Dawson is on our show Thursdays, the ECS House Industries Razorback Report. He's with hogville.net. And we break down that roster of Arkansas 1 through 22, pretty darn good. 23 through 44, it's okay. But 45 through 85, you need 2 more really good recruiting classes. And what does it mean if you're in the top 12, top 15 in the nation in recruiting and you're in the SEC? Well, I think what that means is you're probably 7th or 8th, maybe 9th in the conference.
Yeah.
It's a crowded house down here, Billy. What is it about Sam Pittman, an offensive line coach? Phil Fulmer was an offensive line coach that makes him such a great recruiter. I think it's because he's so genuine.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, even the comments that he made, after the Auburn game, and after Harsin was let go, you can see that he gets it. He understands exactly what it would take to be successful in the SEC, and he's done exactly that. It starts with, you got to establish an identity, and he has that. He's a tough guy, and he's gritty, and he's going to, make his players, be in great shape. And he's going to celebrate the big guys, the linemen, the kind of anonymous guys. And if you can do that, then the rest of it takes care of itself. But, football teams start from the inside out. You got to have interior linemen on both sides that are really good, and a lot of them. And then you can start adding some pieces and, some skill players. But if you can't win the battle in the trenches in the SEC, you're not going to do very well. And he understands that as great as anybody. And that's what he's building there, brick by brick. Like you called it a red wall. And he will be very successful at Arkansas because he's going to make it a great place to come. The culture is going to be fun. The fans are starving for a winner. I mean, they're just ready to explode. They've got a great dedicated fan base. He has all the ingredients at Arkansas to be successful. Arkansas is one of those programs where with the right coach, with the right personality, the sky's the limit because the people are starved for a winner. They love their team.
And they'll put the money and they have the resources to do it. What they lack is population, about 2.8 million people in the state, but they can certainly go into Texas and Missouri, Oklahoma, Tennessee. They'll go into Kansas. They'll come into the deep South, what they call Arkansas in the northwest corner is the high South. But when you look at Arkansas staff, they have a lot of coaches that have strong relationships. Scott Fountain is one of them who has been at Auburn. He's been at Georgia. They know these high school coaches, and Arkansas is doing – go back to when Danny Ford was there. He recruited the Deep South really well. He had guys like Oscar Malone, running back out of Gadsden, Alabama. And, of course, he had DeCorey Birmingham out of Atlanta, Texas. We just had Fred Talley on from Longview, Texas, last week, Razorback, the 20th anniversary of his 247-yard day against Auburn.
The beast.
At that time, the most yards ever given up against by Auburn against anybody. And that was 110 years into Auburn football history. Now they're at 130 yards. And speaking of that, 130 years Auburn's been playing college football. It all began February 20th, 1892, Piedmont Park, Atlanta, Georgia. Auburn 10, Georgia nothing. Never before until this season, and Arkansas will be a footnote in history. Auburn had never given up 40 or more points in one season 4 times or more ever until this season. I think Auburn made the right call making a coaching change. So, any school, you got to have standards. And you talked about the suffering. Look at Alabama, 1997 to 07. And that includes Nick Saban's first year. In that 11-year period, Alabama lost 5 games or more in 8 of those 11 seasons. They got the right coach in there. He came in the first year. They won the Weed Eater Bowl 7-6. And they have never won less than 10, only one time, 11 another. And the rest of the time, it's 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever. Get the right people in there. It makes all the difference in the world. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Going to be joined by Doug Dean down in a deer stand somewhere in the Black Belt of West Alabama. Buddy Martin, GatorAteMedia.com will check in as well. Another hour of college football after this.
Hey everyone, my name is David Wisdom.
And I'm Shelby McNeil, and we're attorneys with Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short, your local Auburn law firm. Established in 1959 right in the heart of Auburn, Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short has grown in response to our clients' legal needs. We're a full-service law firm focusing on the legal issues our clients face.
We take pride in providing our clients with exceptional legal services, ongoing communication, and skilled representation. If you have any questions about our services, please give us a call or visit our website today.
Now more than ever, it is so important to shop local and to buy American. For 60 years, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company has been on the historic Caldwell Square, and we strive to sell made in the USA products when available. With over 7,000 pairs of Western boots and work boots in stock for men and women, come and see our huge selection of clothing, jeans, and accessories from top brands made in the USA. Please support local business and come shop with us at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. God bless the USA.
All right, Billy, God bless the USA. Love those folks at Hewlett & Dunn. Also, it is a Saturday. If you've got dogs, cats, and other critters, Tuscaloosa, Northport, May Veterinary Clinic since 1964. Great group of veterinarians out there committed to taking care of your pets. Get in there, check them out, mayveterinaryclinic.com on the website. Have a great doggy daycare facility called Camp May. That is really cool. They've even got an outdoor pool. And if you've got cats that live together, they put them in the connecting cat condos. You know, cats that live together can play together. And you can come on Sundays from 3 to 5 p.m. for pickup or drop off. May Veterinary Clinic, 1964, Tuscaloosa and Northport. Also say hello to Peter Riley, listening down on his porch in Tyler, Alabama, not too far from Selma, down there in the Black Belt. Beautiful part of Alabama. He loves sitting out there listening to quail, deer hunting. It's bow season right now, people. So a lot of y'all up in the stands. We're going to be joined by, we're probably the only sports radio show that has one of our regular guests StreamYarding in from the deer stand. So I'm anxious to see. And Billy, Doug is a serious hunter and goes up to the Kenai River in Alaska every other year with a big group from down in Birmingham in Alabama. He was in Saskatchewan bear hunting recently. Was up in his stand about 20 feet off the ground, and a black bear came in there, started climbing up the tree. And he goes, I'm like, wow, you ain't going to do much shooting down on a bear with a bow. And the bear was just like coming up the tree, and he took his arrow, the tip of it, he kind of tapped on the metal, tree stand, and the bear looked at him like, oh, sorry about that, and decided to leave. So that's why Doug's going to be joining us here in a minute, because he won and the bear decided to leave. Billy, I'm telling you right now, people better get ready. You better stretch out a lot and be moving around, because shortly college football is going to kick off. And again, we've had some incredible weekends, and we still got a bunch of college football to go. And I'm going to give you a little bit of therapy, Billy, a little advice. Think about football. We go till about the middle of January for the college football playoff. Super Bowl goes to the first week of February. Then about the third week of February, somebody will start spring practice. And it goes all the way into late April. And then in May, mid to late May, the college football magazines come out. And then we just keep going from there. Isn't this a great sport? And I love college basketball, and I love college baseball. I mean, we're lucky that Butch Thompson joins us every week from about mid-January through late June when they get through in Omaha. But college and recruiting, that's what we do. That's who we are. All right, Billy, give me your top 4 teams. I know the college football playoff rankings have Tennessee 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, and Clemson 4. Would you shuffle the chairs on that one, any?
Well, I think that this is just me being old school, and there may not be any rationale to it. But Georgia's the defending champ, and until you get beat, you're the defending champ. I think they should have kept them at 1, and they probably should have had Tennessee at 2. But there's no way that the committee would do that, because already they're laying the groundwork for the semifinal playoffs, where they want 1 and 4 and 2 and 3 to play, and that they're probably going to try to put it out there where Ohio State ends up playing one of the 2 SEC schools, for the championship. And so that's kind of why they probably ranked them the way they did. But I would reverse the order and have Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, Ohio State 3. That's how I would do it.
Well, isn't it great, though? They're going to play each other. And we talked to Bill Hancock, head of the College Football Playoff Committee, yesterday. They'll play each other. Stuff all works itself out. Michael Jordan, Dave Baker, Michael Campbell up early. This is a great time of year, folks. If you're keeping track, we're 336 hours away from the start of duck season here in Arkansas. And it's already spec season, limit 3 per customer. We just need water. We got some rain last night. Man, did we get some rain and some wind, and we might get some more today. But I'm telling you right now, MJ says, go Vols. It's going to be different in this game, Billy. Kirby Smart, he is empowering the Georgia fan base, to just go crazy, be loud, have no voice left. Okay. It's going to be wild. It's going to be like in Knoxville for the Alabama game. And, when we were there, man, when that Pride of the Southland band comes out and forms a giant T, and then the Volunteers with Smokey the Hound up front and the guy in the coonskin hat with a musket come running onto the field, crowd goes crazy. This time it's going to be the Georgia folks going crazy. I don't like that term game of the century, because we have so many of them, and sometimes they live up to the billing. Give me a score of Tennessee versus Georgia, Billy.
I don't know. I think it's probably a touchdown. Tennessee, I already said I think Tennessee will win, 38-31, something like that. I mean, I don't really know. I think touchdown. I think there's going to be some scoring done. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a low scoring game.
Nolan Smith is out. That was Georgia's best pass rusher. Going into the Florida game last weekend, Georgia only had, I think, 7 quarterback sacks on the year. Okay. Now they got 10. You better be getting a hand on Hendon Hooker. The guy's had 1 interception this year. And you got to think, well, if you can't disrupt him and get in his face and get him off rhythm, because a lot of those routes they throw are timing route. But mentally, Hendon Hooker, the brilliance of this guy is he's able to check 1, 2, 3 his reads. But if Tennessee had to decide run or pass, I think they'd rather run the ball. And what I saw last week was Coach G, Rodney Garner's defensive line really man up. Billy, Georgia, Tennessee in the trenches. I mean, I'm grilling you on this thing. Who do you favor?
Well, Garner, I mean, that guy, everywhere he goes, he's been a brilliant coach. I wish we had him back at Auburn. He's been there a couple times, but he's the man. And I've never seen him have anything less than super superb lineman. He just knows how to coach them, get them ready for the NFL. So he's always going to recruit well, because he knows the guys know he can get them ready for the NFL. So yeah, I mean, I think that's where it's going to come down. Well, good. I even saw the Goodyear blimp yesterday here in Atlanta at Peachtree DeKalb Airport. So it's a big game when the blimp shows up. So they obviously brought it into Atlanta. It's been here all week, getting ready to go over to Athens today. No, it's probably already over there.
Well, good text from our good friend Shoney down in Valdosta, Georgia, Lowndes County, says, keep Hooker in the pocket. You got to. So that's going to be fun. Georgia, look, Will Muschamp, Kirby Smart, you're getting into they could write a book about what these guys know defensively in their minds, even without Dan Lanning, who's now out at Oregon. So this is going to be so many matchups, and but again, it all gets down to how do you match up on game day. That is the critical part of it. Now, I want to go back to Billy before Doug Dean joins us from the deer stand over in West Alabama. And I hope he's got good news that he got something. Family's got to eat. And, heck, man, I went over to Dino's in Memphis yesterday and picked up a bunch of 80-20 deer burger and some venison boudin. By the way, folks, if you ain't had venison boudin, you really hadn't had boudin. I know I'm going to get a lot of grief from our Cajun members in the Cherry Farm and the Hunting Club, Blake Klein, Peter Balake, and Tanner Smith. Those really aren't Cajun names, but they are from Lake Charles, and these guys can cook. It's ridiculous. You get MJ in there with them cooking and SAG, and then those guys, it's like getting, the band back together. It's as good as it gets. But I'm going to ask you this, Billy, right now. Do you think NIL is having a negative effect on any particular team? Can you think of where that's a problem? Because I'm starting to see some programs just the guys look like they've checked out, and it's because they're not getting any money. And the coaches are saying, hey, no, I'm not an agent. I'm not a bank. I'm a football coach. If you're going to come in my office, I want you to be talking about how you can be a better man, do better in school, and be a better football player, not how I can get you more money. That's not my job, because if we don't get a handle on this stuff, you're going to have more coaches retire. But here's what I think also. I think the free market's going to work all this stuff out, because the game of college football is better than it's ever been. The product on the field is exciting. The fundamentals might be lacking in some places, but God, it's entertaining, Billy. But your thoughts on that before we go to Doug in the stand?
Well, I think that, these guys are going to expect, they should, that their team is going to be run like a professional team, and the player has a job to do, just like on a pro roster. I mean, it's going to be more and more like the way a professional team is run. So, if you're not getting paid enough, tackle more, score more touchdowns. When you do have your opportunity, make the most of it. I mean, it heightens this. If the guys want to be a competitor, it heightens the competitiveness, because they now have an extra incentive instead of a far off payday 4 years from now, because they performed well in college. They can have a little bit more of a short-term gratification, than they used to. So it just, people are money motivated. We all are. And a college football player is no different. So what this does is it allows them to have a very direct link between performance on the field and money in their pocket, just like any of the rest of us who go to work every day. So ultimately a good thing. There needs to be guardrails. There's got to be some kind of sanity around it. It can't be just a Wild West scenario. And so those adjustments will be made, but ultimately I think it's a good thing. And, it's the market speaks. The teams that demand excellence, the fan base that demands winning, will do what they need to do in NIL to help with that. And there's an old adage in auto racing: speed costs money. How fast do you want to go? And if you want to win, you got to, have a faster car. That costs money to develop it. No different than football. Winning's going to cost money. How much do you want to win? And if you have a fan base that'll go create a war chest of $20 million in NIL money that can be used to supplement the good recruiting that your coaches do, then that's a good thing. And, injuries being what they are, a guy, puts his career on the line every Saturday. And if he has a chance to make a few dollars, even as a young guy, then that is a little bit of a mitigator for the catastrophic injuries that we have seen happen over a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, look, just got a text from Hannibal Lecter in DeRidder, Louisiana. Hannibal Lecter says, "At NIL ain't working at Texas A&M, my friend," and it's not. Buddy Martin's going to join us here in just a minute, and he's got some breaking news. I'm going to let him break that news out of respect to him, because he is a true grit journalist, GatorbaitMedia.com. But Doug Dean, come on in here with us right now. First off, did you get you a deer?
No, and by the way, this segment brought to you by the makers of John Deere tractors. Nothing runs like a deer, Rob.
You damn right.
No, it's funny. I'm fortunate. One of the few benefits of age, a little bit of age, is you start to have less hate for the wildlife. and it's a good hunt if all you do is sit in the woods. But it's so hilarious. These deer are adapting. They know I'm kind of soft-hearted for these whitetail deer, and because I'm a gamekeeper. If you know those folks in West Point, Mississippi, at Mossy Oak, that's their favorite term, the gamekeepers. Shout out to Bobby Cole, my friend, who's CEO there, and Toxie, the head of the founder of that. Anyway, yeah. What these deer are doing now, they only show themselves when they've got 2 spotted fawns with them, and they know I'm not going to disrupt that situation. I'm not going to be a home wrecker, right?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, what a day to be a Georgia Bulldog or a Tennessee Vol, certainly an LSU Bengal Tiger, and you can bet Alabama's licking their chops to be thought of as a worthy number 1 or 2 ranked team, and it's just going to be a heck of a fun day. And oh, by the way, although there's not nearly as much on the line, it's going to be emotional and kind of inspiring to see Cadillac Williams lead the team out to face the Pirate and a pretty good, I think, a Mississippi State team that is better than their 3 losses might lead you to believe.
I do too, and I agree with you. Emotionally, Cadillac. This is a guy that loves Auburn, and you like to see that with a guy at any school, and he knows what's going on. I mean, he gets it. So yeah, it is a great day, and Billy and I have been having a lot of fun this morning, hoping that Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report Mark Hamm could check in from Athens. He made 3 briskets and trying to get them to Roman Harper down there at SEC Nation. That's there, along with the rest of the world's media. It seems like most of them are in Athens this weekend. Doug, we've talked a lot about Alabama and Tennessee. Let's get your rub on it. Miss Rubin's rubs, white magic, black magic, Creole magic, seafood magic, and the marinades. They're great corporate gifts for Christmas, folks. Check them out. MissRubins.com since 1935. Good. But I was talking to my good friend Carl Childers, and I said, Carl, what would your plan of attack be if you're Alabama going down to LSU with all those crazy folks all liquored up all day down in Baton Rouge? You know what Carl said to me? I reckon I got no reason to hate on LSU. Well, Carl, what would you try to do to take the crowd out of the game? Need gas. Need liquor. But let's talk about it there, Carl. I mean, Doug.
Yeah, well, LSU got what they want starting out. They get a night game, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably not coincidental that my man Duff, as I like to call him, Frank Duff, is not on this morning.
Yes.
He's probably embracing the Woodford early today. You'd have to, and I'm sure the high IQ LSU fans would not dispute this if we're just having an intellectual discussion of analytics. You'd have to like Alabama in this game just because Brian Kelly knew when he arrived there was a little bit of a mess. The fact that they're winning the way they are, it wasn't a terrible mess with the roster like you got in Lee County with Auburn's roster management. But I think Brian Kelly, as I've said to Duff and LSU people, I think LSU is ahead of schedule, big time ahead of schedule, this being his first year.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you like Alabama in this game for a lot of reasons, assuming Bryce Young, plays the whole game, doesn't have to leave with getting dinged up or something. On the other hand,
Doug, hold those thoughts. We're going to take a quick break, and I want you to continue, but we're going to take a quick break from the stand in West Alabama after this quick break.
Okay.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, here we are on the Saturday morning college football roundtable. What a great weekend we've got, man. And now, Doug, you're making a great point going into the break. Go ahead and finish that because I want to do that. And then we're going to get to Buddy Martin down in Ocala, GatorbaitMedia.com. Also, the Buddy Martin Show, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and Twitter. I get a little thing on Twitter every night. It dings right when it's showtime. And you need to tune in to the Buddy Martin Show. Ain't anything on TV that good. You got to love it. Doug, finish, and we'll go to Buddy.
Yeah, it's always good to be on with Buddy and Billy. I should have said hello to you when you came on. Another great, legendary Auburn man. But there's nothing worse than a rival fan trying to give you a take on a big game, huge rivalry game like Alabama LSU. But maybe at least I don't bring emotion to the table for either team per se. But my point was, I think LSU is ahead of schedule. Brian Kelly, and I know that LSU fans are ecstatic at the pace, the trajectory. That as Jimmy said the other day, that they're a different team from those first couple or three games, and almost all of that. I mean, you've seen improvements on the defensive side, which is a big deal, but in the SEC. But Jaden Daniels he has developed and become more in control, and it took them a while, and it probably took him a while to get confident figuring out what his style is going to be, and it's accurate arm more than I realized, but he's such a threat. He's like that extra running back that a dual threat quarterback gives you. You saw it with Nick Marshall in 2013, obviously Cam Newton in 2010 if you're an Auburn fan. And it's almost like you would have to think long and hard to sign a quarterback that has little or no mobility. I think the game has become all about that now, and he better be really good like Mac Jones was, and he better have great O-line and wide receivers if he's going to lack mobility.
Yeah,
I think LSU's chance is going to take, if it took Tennessee in Neyland Stadium, as emotional as that was, it took them as the whole game and a couple of incredible borderline miracle throws at the end. You could say borderline foolish trying to throw. How many coaches would just take a knee and go to overtime and be grateful they got Alabama to overtime? So my point is LSU is going to need some help from Alabama in the form of a couple of turnovers, and they're going to have to avoid their own mistakes. So I like Alabama by a touchdown or so, but in Death Valley, tough place to go and come out alive.
Absolutely. Buddy, you texted me some breaking news, and out of respect to you, because you are a true grit journalist, let people know what's going on. It's a pretty, wild story.
Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you. And I just wanted to say that the forgotten games, because it's two huge games. I understand this. I mean, I don't know if we ever had two bigger games in the SEC on the same day, but there are other games going on. And one of those of interest to people in Texas and Florida are the two embattled coaches that you wouldn't expect. Certainly, you didn't expect Jimbo Fisher to be there, and Billy Napier, both 1-4 in the SEC, and A&M favored by a field goal at Kyle Field. Breaking news from Pete Thamel: a flu outbreak at Texas A&M, and the team on campus will leave the status of multiple A&M players in flux for today's game against Florida. Quarterback Connor Wigman is among the players who's questionable for Texas A&M. Now, I don't know if that's Michael Jordan flu, because when he played great, or if that's a real deal. but significant news, and Pete Thamel wouldn't be putting it out there if it wasn't accurate. So it'll be interesting to see how this factors in the game today. On the flip side, Florida, of course, has kicked off Brenton Cox, and they lost Kamari Wilcoxon, who's a redshirt freshman safety who left the team. So we'll see how it shakes out. And, of course, this is the game that will define really the seasons for both coaches. This is an important game with 4 to go. So that breaking news is significant to people around here and people out in College Station.
Yeah, it is. And we talked a little bit about that game, buddy. At this point right now, and we just live in a world. I mean, you saw the reaction of a lot of LSU fans on social media when LSU lost, 24-23 in the first game against Florida State in the Superdome. They didn't go for 2. A lot of people say Brian Kelly at this point, he probably would go for 2. But you got to put all that stuff and compartmentalize it, because a lot of crazies out there. Sometimes I'm crazy, but it's always kept me from going insane.
What do you mean sometimes?
That's a great line in that Waylon Jennings song. I've always been crazy, but it's kept me from going insane. But Billy Napier is a guy, I'm a huge fan of his, because I'm looking past right now. He wouldn't be at Florida if the guy before him had done a great job. There's a lot of things they got to fix. They're doing the best they can. But, all that aside, are you seeing progress made in enough areas to make you think, okay, yeah, this is going to work?
Well, I wrote this week, and I don't want to get in the middle of a conversation you got going on here. And,
no, do it.
But I did my annual review with the statues. Mm-hmm. I talk to the statues once a year at least in the season, and once in the off season. So I took my stroll down Lemoran Boulevard, and I talked to the 3 statues there: Spurrier, Werfel, and Tebow. And people laugh at me and say, I say that. But I got to tell you, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, you don't believe in you don't believe in the Easter Bunny, you don't believe in the 12th man of Texas A&M, you don't believe it. But if you do believe it, you know it. And they told me they were disappointed in the way the fans were reacting to this. And basically said they need to understand this is called a crucible. Look it up. I did. I printed it. What is a crucible? Things that go wrong when, before they get right, and a new day is coming. And I said in my statement there, and I said, I think Florida will win 3 of the last 4. And they may lose to A&M, but maybe now not. Because if they do, they're right on the number where they're supposed to be at 7-5. That's where everybody had them. Over 7.5, whatever gets your money. I think Frank might have bet that. But the fact is that that this is not. Guess what? They've lost to 4 ranked teams, including 3 in the top 10 right now. Think about that. 3 in the top 10 right now, and so a team like LSU, which is really coming on now, the talent. And I would like to make fun of Brian Kelly, but my goodness, he has done a masterful coaching job. What if they beat Alabama today? Which, by the way, could happen. Sure. They're very good, depending on what happens with their quarterback, as we talked about earlier. He's been playing great. So, yeah, I think Florida, and I said he's the right guy for the job. Whether the pain threshold is too much for some Gators, okay, go away for a while and come back. This is how it is. If you want to see your team do better, you got to hang in there and go through the tough days, as we say, in all kinds of weather. So it's okay if you're happy, if you're angry at them and whatever you want, but they're not off course that much. What will happen these last 4 games will define Billy's first year and the trajectory of the Florida Gator football program.
And buddy, aren't the Gators and Auburn would clearly be envious of this, and it's a reason it's maybe the reason Brian Harsin was shown the door, and it's gleefully to every Auburn fan I've talked to. But aren't the Gators ranked something like 7th in national recruiting, which is the big deal?
They were 8th. By the way, a guy, and again, these recruiting things, we don't know what happens because the NIL money is hidden. There's no, like someone says, there's no salary cap. And so you hear things, you hate to repeat them, but Florida was all poised to get the number 1 cornerback in the country from Lakeland, which is a hotbed for Gator stuff. All right.
Yeah.
And he was a Gator. He was 95% committed there until he was.
Yeah.
Free agency.
Yeah. Buddy, but were you shocked? Franz Beard was shocked that happened. He couldn't. He doesn't suspect any tomfoolery or chicanery or horseplay on that one. Do you?
I think we lost audio.
Yeah.
Lost his audio. Yeah.
Buddy, let us know when you're back. But I look at the big recruiting news out of Lakeland, and that was a blow for Florida. I mean, a big blow. But they're 7 or 8 in recruiting, and they may that Franz thinks they're going to finish at number 8. Jump back in, buddy, again when you're back on. Okay. Hopefully we'll get him back on here.
Rob, can I comment?
You got me?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, buddy. Buddy, finish your statement about that Lakeland, Florida deal.
Look, I don't know what happened. I'm just saying that John Ruiz, the big billionaire attorney who's admitted to, call it what you will, buying players. I guess when somebody else does this, buying players, when you do it, it's just an all money. But this kid, McClain, the number 1 quarterback, comes from a hotbed in Lakeland where with Gator, I mean, the essence of Edward Meyer's championship teams are 7 Lakeland players. Not the same school, but Gibson. And this young man who had been projected, and by the way, these crystal balls will get you in trouble. Yes. And I said, well, when it gets down to where I got to follow the whims of a 17-year-old to cover what's going on, I ain't in there. I'm not doing that. I mean, look, I understand how important it is. We don't know. We guess. I'm a journalist. I like to go by facts. I don't have any facts. I just know that On3, allegedly the number 1 site in the country on recruiting, had him 95% connected, projected crystal ball to Florida. And then one day he put on a hat that said Miami. And I've heard way over 7 figures, but I don't know that. I just know obviously there's a lot of money exchanged hands. I can't say I would blame the kid. If I got $5 million to go somewhere, I'd be going too. So I don't know what happened, but there's some mysteries of the NIL world. It's the way it's going to be. You got to move on to the next guy and see what Billy Napier does. Florida was ranked 8th in national recruiting until then. They may have slipped a notch. His recruiting is going to be just fine. He won't get all the 5 stars because Kirby's got them. But they've got plenty of players. They're going to replenish their squad with obviously transfer portal big time. There's going to be a flux, as Franz probably told you, 35 to 40 players off that roster. And we had a couple this past week, and Brent Cox and Carl Wilcox. It's going to be changed. The dynamics of that change. Billy Napier could have come in there and whacked people's heads off and got rid of 25 of them off the bat. But he didn't do that. He let them stay and graduate, moving on. And there are going to be other players and names of players. And one of my favorite players is likely going to go. That's the nature of the business. Do I like it? No, it's what it is. It's real. So, yeah, this kid from Lakeland, McClain, is a hurricane. Good luck playing to 5,000 people, crowds, and all that kind of stuff. But anyways.
Billy Roberts jumping here right now. Buddy, Billy, his father is from Key West, grew up down there, is a Florida Gator, a proud industrial engineering major graduate from Gainesville. But Billy jumping here with Buddy Martin of GatorbaitMedia.com.
Billy, how you doing? I love Key West.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was reminiscing when you were talking about the statues a minute ago. I had the good fortune of going to Tebow's last game in Gainesville. It happened to be the 75th anniversary of the College of Engineering at Florida, and they had all the alumni come back from all the years. And that was, I think, Tebow's last game. I'm almost positive it was, and it was exciting to go and just to see how revered he is among the Gator faithful down there. Holy smoke, that guy is amazing. And that was a special day for sure.
Sure, I bet. And Tebow's off the charts, obviously. I mean, you can't begin to measure what he was. And Franz and I covered every one of his games, so we saw a lot of Tebow. But
I lived in Lakeland as a kid too. My dad worked for Florida Tile.
Okay, Florida Tile. That's a big company. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Lakeland well. I lived there as a kid. They have a big water tower there in the shape of a birthday cake from Publix. That was the main thing I remembered as a kid.
The Jenkins family, really big there, that's for sure.
Yeah, but Lakeland definitely a football hotbed. And we were talking earlier before you joined about NIL, and we made an analogy about like with, NASCAR and car racing, like speed costs money. How fast do you want to go? And I think NIL is a similar analog for college football, right?
Good analysis. Yeah.
If the fan base demands excellence, they'll raise that money amongst themselves and apply it. Just how bad do you want to win? And there's a lot of teams like Florida and Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, who have been kind of in that, I hate to say second tier, but Georgia and Alabama have been kind of on top for a couple of years, and this levels the playing field potentially. And there's a lot of pent up demand, and this could be the X factor to get some of these other great SEC schools with a great tradition, kind of back up there where it's not just Alabama, Georgia year in and year out. And not only in recruiting, but performing on the field with athletes.
And Billy, great point. And I wanted to kind of tie some of these comments together, both yours and Buddy's. Jimbo's got to be frustrated if in fact they are without some of their starters because of the bad timing of influenza. But, it's a cautionary tale that on the one hand, money and a big contract worked beautifully in the case of Coach Nick Saban. That there were probably a few fans wondering about that in 2007 when he fell to Louisiana Monroe. But that was, as Gene Chizik, when he was at Auburn, liked to say to the team, that was an imposter. And Chizik was big in that 2010 year about not letting things fool you, that what media says, you have a bad play, don't get down about an imposter. And of course, that was before Coach Chizik kind of himself became an imposter, Rob, in 2012.
Yeah.
It's a tough game, but you take the same deal. Just because you give a $8 or $10 million a year, really long term, heavily guaranteed contract, that's not cause and effect. And we're seeing that at A&M with Jimbo Fisher. And the tough part is, if Jimbo could have signed an elite quarterback like Hendon Hooker, you've seen that, what a difference. Some of the exact same systems, the fortunes of the Aggies could have gone entirely differently. And so I would say, I hope President Roberts and John Cohen, our new athletic director at Auburn, are thinking long and hard about the risk level of, let's say, if and I don't mean to upset Ole Miss fans, because I know Lane Kiffin is laser focused preparing for Alabama right now. But if Auburn goes after Kiffin and he has interest, that's exciting. It'll win the presser. But you got to also think about, do you leverage that long a period of time like A&M did and basically lock yourself out of any chess moves if things aren't going well, whether it's on the field or off the field?
Well, we're about to take a break. Before Buddy answers that, I want to say something. The state of Mississippi only allows you to go 4 years out on a contract. When you go 8 or 10 years out as an AD, a president, as a fan base, your boosters, you are essentially giving up all of your leverage. Okay. And that's like telling your 16-year-old kid when he gets a driver's license, you can do whatever you want. You can drive now. You got to have boundaries and structure. And that's why these coaches, Brian Harsin, he ain't going to starve. We'll be right back to talk about it after this.
Hey everyone, my name is David Wisdom.
And I'm Shelby McNeil, and we're attorneys with Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short, your local Auburn law firm. Established in 1959 right in the heart of Auburn, Haggard, Cleveland, Pierce, Thompson & Short has grown in response to our clients' legal needs. We're a full-service law firm focusing on the legal issues our clients face.
We take pride in providing our clients with exceptional legal services, ongoing communication, and skilled representation. If you have any questions about our services, please give us a call or visit our website today.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you for the final segment here on this Saturday. Buddy, great points being made before we went to the break, and I'd love to hear your answer.
I'm not sure what I was talking about, but anyway, I think we're all in just waiting to see how this thing's going to shake down. Auburn, look, we all know Auburn's got resources. Auburn's got a winning tradition. Auburn's going to get the right guy. Is it Lane Kiffin? Maybe. I don't know if there's that much difference. He's got his thing set up pretty well there in Oxford, except for the fact, as you say, those Mississippi rules. But it just depends on what kind of mood Lane's in. And Maine's offensive genius. I mean, let's be honest about it. He's got a good team this year. He's not going to play for it all. That's why Brian Kelly went to LSU, because he knew he could play for it all. And here he is, right there, number 10 in the country. All of a sudden, a guy who we were making fun of not long ago because he was a fake Cajun accent, you know. And if you can coach, you can coach. There's some good coaches out there. I'm not sure. You guys tell me. I hear Lane Kiffin. Something about that just doesn't sound right to me. I just don't think Auburn's going to go there, but I could be wrong. And if they do, I'm not sure Lane would take it. They're going to take somebody they know they can hire. They're not going to get rebuffed by anybody. So there's lots of good coaches out there. I'm not sure which one will work. Every year we try to find out, can Billy Napier coach at another level, etc. Well, who's the next Billy Napier? There's always good coaches. I am really glad to see, really, to be honest with you, Florida will get back, but I'm glad to see Tennessee being so relevant, LSU back being relevant now. It's not just Georgia and Alabama. And the games we got today are such great marquee games and international publicity for the league that it's just going to be all good. So I believe in the old theory, a rising tide raises all ships. It's good when Tennessee wins. It's good when LSU wins. And it'd be good when Auburn wins again.
Yeah, and essentially for the rest of the SEC, the last couple of years, and really before that with Gus, the way that he was doing a lot of things, Auburn's been sort of over on the sides as a spectator. Okay, now Auburn has launched the new NIL group, Ever to Conquer. Ever to Conquer is really more of a fundraising group, but they've also got On to Victory, that NIL collective. So Auburn's got money, they got resources. Every school does, but Auburn has put out a call to their alumni and their fan base, their boosters, and say, look, we got to get back to being relevant. In the meantime, Georgia and Alabama have just been running around, doing whatever they wanted. They've gotten every player, and Auburn hadn't even been a factor. Right now, they've only got 3 of the top 35 players in Alabama committed. That's about to change. As Doug said, they have awoken a sleeping giant. Auburn's the 12th winningest program in the history of college football. But that Auburn fan experience, man, national championship 2 years later, you're 3-9, the worst team in 62 years. The next year you play for the national championship. If Auburn can get a coach and win consistently and all, it's going to change everything. Again, LSU, you got Ole Miss, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, maybe they have peaked out, guys. I don't know. But this is the most competitive league in college sports, in every sport. And, Doug and Billy, y'all throw your 2 cents on it. But everybody has money, but you got to have great people to win. From 1982 to 2002, that 20-year period, Southern Cal, with all those people out there and all that high school football talent, they only had 1 double-digit win season in that 20-year period. Pete Carroll comes in, look what happened. Pete Carroll leaves, look what happens. It's all about getting the right fit at the school.
But, right now with the fact that these kids are free agents and they can leave on a dime if they don't like their playing time or opportunity, you better have a coach that's magnetic and fun to play for. And, Lane Kiffin checks that box. I think Deion Sanders certainly would check that box. That is going to be, a big deal going forward. The coach is going to have to be a bit of a Pied Piper more than ever and get kids that want to come and want to stay. An old school approach, and I'm going to be somewhat charitable to Harsin. I don't know the guy, but looking at the way he interviewed and his demeanor, he was kind of a dour, didn't crack a smile, kind of a tough dude, kind of persona. That doesn't seem like a guy that's a lot of fun to play for. And then you compare him to like a Spurrier, who that guy looks like a lot of fun to play for. If I'm a quarterback, I would have loved to have played for Spurrier. Who wouldn't?
Oh.
So, those and Smart, the guys rally around him. Kirby Smart seems like a guy that's fun to play for. That your personality more than ever, you're going to have to create a culture. Again, discipline has to be there. It's a disciplined game. I'm not saying be their buddy and it's a fun, environment. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you better be an engaging personality a la Pete Carroll, Lane Kiffin, to where the guys want to come. And in the portal world that we're in, that is crucial. And I think that's what Lane Kiffin has probably figured out quicker than anybody.
Yeah, great points, Billy. I've noticed a seismic shift and I don't think it's been coming for a while, but that the fan base, a huge segment of the Auburn fan base that I listen to, it's as if they're saying the only thing that matters when you hire a coach is can he recruit at a top 2 or 3 elite level, and as you might imagine, that points arrows toward primetime Deion Sanders. And I don't know. I don't dispute that it's all about procuring talent acquisition, or you won't ever find out if the coach is worth a damn or not. On the other hand, coaching still matters, for the love of God. You can blunders with money boosters, relationships. There can be blunders in the media that cost you. There can be off-field blunders. If all that matters is recruiting, you can be undone by other things besides just talent.
Well, that's true. And the thing about Auburn that frustrated me for a long time is the reality check of what the job demands sometimes gets beyond the hiring committee. Auburn is too big a job for a hot assistant or somebody who's had success at a smaller level that really hadn't proven it, at an SEC level. I think going forward with this hire, and I would put Florida in the same category. These are too big a jobs for guys that haven't done it before. And, Kiffin has got proven experience as a program builder, and, he's winning at the SEC level as head coach. That's the minimum that it requires right now. Auburn can't take any flights of fancy, and no disrespect to Sanders, but he hasn't done it at the SEC level, and he hasn't been a head coach for more than 2 years. Let another school take a flyer on him. Auburn can't afford the risk that comes with his relative lack of experience. Not saying he's not a great coach, motivator, recruiter, all of the points you just made, Doug, but he has not done enough in 2 years as a head coach on the biggest stage to where his philosophies and his style have proven themselves, and some other folks are out there that have. Hugh Freeze, he's proven it. He can do it, right? He's another guy that, you don't need to put a question mark. Can he run an offense? Can he hang and beat the best? He's beaten Saban twice. Who else has done that? Those guys are the only level that should be considered, or somebody maybe with more of an NFL pedigree, which, oh, by the way, Kiffin checks that box too. That's the kind of person Auburn needs, because you got to run that program like an NFL program the way Saban has, because that's what the kids want. Prepare me for the NFL.
Yeah. Buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to weigh in here real quick. I got to run, check down into this flu story, but I just want to remind you guys, as we're talking about these parameters of coaches, I don't know either. You can make a case against or for anybody. Some people say you're absolutely crazy not to hire Deion. He'd be a recruiting machine. But the CEO part of that is another thing. And I think this is what Auburn, I don't know, what Auburn would be afraid of. What are you looking for? A coaching talent, a CEO, whatever. And then we remind you, we talk about don't take a chance on guys who have not been in a big program. Florida hired Steve Spurrier from Duke, okay?
Yeah.
Let's remember that. And there are good coaches or good coaches. You're gambling no matter who you hire. I thought Brian Kelly might have been a mistake. Now I'm wrong. He wasn't a mistake. He didn't really coach. So Auburn's got money. Auburn's smart. They'll find the right person. They're not going to settle for anything. I don't know. I'm thinking in job insecurity, if you're going to be a head coach, you want to spend the rest of your life at one place, which is the most security, Florida or Auburn?
Well,
I just
Auburn,
saying that they fire people every 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah, Florida since 1951. I think, Doug, you put in the AU dose has had 14 coaches since 1951. LSU's had 13, Tennessee 12, Alabama 11. Auburn will be hiring their 9th coach, and Georgia is on their 7th coach.
But that's misleading, updated the last 10 years, last 15
Oh, yeah,
years.
no, and yeah.
So Shug Jordan lasted forever, So.
25, yeah, Shug Jordan. I talked to Ralph Jordan last week and when Vince Dooley passed away, and talking about that 25 years. Those, nobody's going to stay 25 years. We say Nick Saban, he might do it at Alabama. I wouldn't put anything past him, but buddy,
I don't know. LSU seems to hire the right coach. That's hard to believe. The last three have won national championships. So there you go.
Lester, who's a smarter man, Lester Miles or Ed Orgeron taking a calculus class? Who would pass?
I tell you, I don't think he'll be at Orgeron, but he sure got the money in his bank account. He's right. Show me the doors. Give me the money. And he did it, and he's gone, and he'll wind up someplace. But we'll see. They'll get the good luck to everybody at Auburn. And by the way, great games today. Can't wait to get in there and watch this Florida game. And then, of course, to see, I'm liking Tennessee with the points. I think Georgia will win the game. In my mind, LSU and the points, but Bama wins the game. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking Bama wins, and I'm thinking Tennessee wins. But that's just Tennessee, I think, goes in there and they win in the shootout, which is what they're going to put Georgia in a position to do.
That defensive line of Georgia's is a monster. They're missing Nolan Smith, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
They got so much talent on that team. It's going to be great. Great SEC football. Guys, I enjoyed seeing you. Good to do the show. Let me go to work.
Hey, buddy, have a great day. Look forward to having you on again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, Rob.
Bet. Buddy Martin, GatorBaitMedia.com and the Buddy Martin Show, Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Facebook, Twitter, check it out. Buddy Martin Show. He has Franz Beard, Ben Troop, Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, has a lot of great guests. They cover the Gators, the SEC, and all of college football. Doug and Billy both making some great points. Looking around here, we got a few minutes left on the Saturday College Football Roundtable. I see as LSU's coming back, as Tennessee's coming back, Georgia and Alabama have been up there by themselves. There's been a lot of distance, and we'll sort through it all at the end of the season. But Auburn's been in timeout for several years. These programs, what Auburn is doing financially in terms of NIL and everything like that, it's going to make people's heads spin. I know a little about it. They're getting ready to get back in the ring. Brian Harsin, maybe he'll get a job out west in the mountains in Colorado. Good for him. Doug, and I don't know if you're going to hunt this afternoon or not. If you've got you've got it, the ESPN app, you can watch football all day, can't you?
Yeah, I'm watching football. You know, if I'm hoping I'm not interrupting you, Rob, but
no, not at all.
What's to focus a second on Auburn, because they're in the news for yet another coaching dismissal and hire. What's really spectacular, if you're an Auburn fan, is for the first time I remember in, I guess, the last 3 or 4 coaching hires, Auburn, as we sit, is in a place all by itself as the most coveted job. I think Nebraska and Wisconsin have no chance head to head if we were to be going after the same coach, which we won't be. I did hear, by the way, Matt Rule is likely to take the Nebraska job, and I wish he would have called me before he considered that. It's become a graveyard. Hope he can, if anybody can turn it around, probably him. But the winds are blowing a little bit in the direction of Lee County and the loveliest village, that Auburn is being talked about by national pundits as you ready for this, a top 5 job when we get our act together. No big if, we never underestimate the power of Jabba, just Auburn being Auburn. And we'll find a way to mess something up. But we do appear to have the strongest poker hand if we can identify who's the right guy. I think the money's there. We've got a war chest of NIL that's exciting. The new football facility. So the trajectory is promising if you're an Auburn Tiger, but only if they get this hire right.
Yeah. And I'll say this, in the case of Auburn, why not claim all 10 national championships? Alabama claims everything they get. Ole Miss claims them. Texas A&M added 2 days after joining the SEC in 2012. I mean, they had a hell of a summer, I guess. I didn't know they played college football in July. So why not claim all of them? Michigan claims 11. So Auburn, claim all your national championships. You got 10 of them. Put them all over the stadium and brand your program. Quit worrying about what other schools are going to say, Auburn.
Claim the ones you've got some cover that NCAA already recognizes in some publication.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not. But, Alabama, they have the greatest tradition in all of college football, hands down. And we know that. And Auburn has great traditions. So does Tennessee's the 9th winningest program in all of college football. And you know what? Florida from 1989 to 2009 won more games than anybody in college football. 8 SEC titles and 3 national championships. And you know what we didn't ask, buddy? And this came from Jim Shorts in Long Island, New York, Auburn alum that lives up in Long Island, Hell's Kitchen, I think, said, why didn't you ask Buddy Martin if Urban Meyer would be interested if Auburn were to call? Billy?
Well,
I mean, take a jump at that one.
Yeah, you got a national championship coach kind of sitting there for the taking, and he certainly can recruit, and he certainly can scheme an offense. So the only thing that he can't maybe do is be a fun guy to play for, like we talked about a minute ago. That is going to be a crucial box that's got to get checked. I don't know if he checks that box. When he gets interviewed, he kind of has a quirky personality, a little bit of a know-it-all, not as fun, as engaging as maybe is required in this NIL world. But the guy is, a winner everywhere. He went undefeated at Utah, for God's sake. So, everywhere he goes, he's a winner. So, he's got the pedigree for sure.
Well, we got less than a minute left. Let me say, go out and help somebody with the expectation of getting nothing in return. Don't give to get, give to give. And also, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Folks, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world, okay? So if you're down, feeling bad about yourself, look inside and find excuses to win. Doug Dean, closing comments, and I want to hear that you get a deer from the stand today, sometime over the weekend.
I can wait till January when love is in the air, if you know what I mean. It's just I just wanted to say more, speaking to the entire college football fan base across the country. Fortunate we're not a pandemic year again. We can enjoy Saturday. You got so much to look forward to, whether going to game or you're going to be a couch potato. What a blessing it is that we get that in this country.
Yeah, we really do. Great show as always today. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about on Monday. Get ready for a lot of games. We're out of here. God bless you.